Okie dokie. We are back. Roundtable Ravens episode 5, emergency episode 5. I know we recorded an episode earlier this week talking all about the end of the season, but wow. We were talking about this. We were discussing it. We said that we wouldn't have much to talk about apart from looking towards the draft unless something crazy coach-wise happened. Obviously, offensive coordinator Todd Monken is being interviewed for the Browns head coaching position, but that was kind of the only really big thing and wouldn't really warrant us to jump on and talk about Ravens football, really. We could have gone with our weekly release, but John Harbaugh has been fired. It wasn't even a mutual split as I reported in my article, as the initial reports indicated. It was not mutual. Steve Bisciotti straight up fired him.
Yeah, it seemed like that in his statement. At least he said he relieved John Harbaugh of his duties. And it's not even been 24 hours, but I am still processing this because this is the last thing I imagined to happen, especially this quickly. There has got to be so much going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to that led to this decision.
I mean, there's been reports that are coming out. One of the main things that I've been reading, that I've been hearing and seeing, is that I guess Harbaugh was all in on Todd Monken remaining, but Steve Bisciotti and the rest of the higher mucky mucks in the Ravens organization wanted to get rid of him, wanted to engage in a big sweeping change, potentially even getting rid of Zach Orr as well. We don't really know, and I that was like one of the main catalysts, not the only catalyst, but one of the other catalysts that started this entire thing. There were reports that his job security was up in the air, and it felt like smoke. It felt like, okay, yeah, of course, like people are just saying what they're saying, and
They've been
this.
saying it for years. It's something, it get called at the end of every season for the last few years, really.
Right, right. And it just didn't seem likely. And we had talked about it. I had brought it up in the last episode just a few days ago that the only way that John Harbaugh would leave is if John Harbaugh wanted to leave. They did say there was discussions between both the ownership and Harbaugh, but ultimately Bisciotti just fired him. That's what it seems like. Harbaugh indicated that in his statement, as did Bisciotti. So it didn't seem like it was an amicable split in the sense of, like, obviously Harbaugh doesn't seem like he's going to be harboring a bunch of hurt feelings about it.
No, it's not the kind of person he is.
No, but it did not seem at all that he was prepared for this to happen. And in fact, again, additional reports are coming out that he wasn't even allowed to inform his staff. They fired him. He left the building, and then it was DaCosta that went in and told the staff that he had been relieved of his duties. So, who knows what the entire coaching staff is. The entire coaching staff could be gone at this point too, moving forward. But now, you already have this huge, huge head coaching cycle change that's going on. The Giants, the Cardinals, the Titans, the Falcons, the Raiders. I'm probably missing a team that I didn't. Well, now the Ravens, but the Ravens now shoot at the top of that list. That is now the number one spot for any head coach candidate, no matter what. Because you got Lamar Jackson, you got a two-time MVP quarterback, you got a team that did struggle in 2025, but you have let's just say, an arguable championship level caliber roster right there already. Obviously, there are issues that we discussed before that everybody knows. The secondary, it needs help. The offensive line needs help. But regardless, you still have a playoff caliber roster with Lamar Jackson. It just, obviously, there needs to be coaching changes. But
Yeah, we're a puzzle that needs the pieces just put together. Like we're just completely apart at the moment, and we're getting almost there, and then we've like realized that a piece is kind of not where it's supposed to be, and I think that that's the best way to describe it. I think that the fear is though is like you've got a high, massive expectations. It's not like the Titans or the Giants where you're kind of, or the Browns even, where you're kind of really stepping into this like newer system. Like John's been there for 18 years. Like you've
mhm.
got a legacy to uphold now and create your own because you've got so much at this job. Like, while I believe personally, like, I wouldn't want to be seeking around any other team, I'd be wanting to go straight to the Ravens. That's a lot to carry on your shoulders we need someone who's seasoned, who's done it before, who's seen it
Mhm.
before, and can kind of slot right in day one.
No, yeah, that's hitting the nail on the head. But also too, like you said, it's legacy. This is going to be only the fourth head coach
Hmm.
in franchise history. Obviously, the Ravens are not a team that's been around since the 1960s, like a lot of the league. But this is only the fourth head coach. There's other teams since the 1960s that have hired like 15 plus 20 coaches. There's a lot. A lot of
Yeah.
turnover in the NFL. But this team and the Steelers are two of the only teams in the entire league that do not fire head coaches. And obviously, we talked about Mike Tomlin a little bit and that situation. Like, who knows what would have happened if Tyler Luke made the kick and whatever. Would Harbaugh have been let go regardless? Even let's just say the Ravens made it to the playoffs, but they were one and done. Would he have still been fired? Probably.
Yeah, I
Um, you look.
imagine so.
You look at the overall. I mean, obviously this is a shock. Like, nobody is not shocked about it. But now that the damage has been done, you kind of look at the entire situation, and this is something that we've talked about here on the pod, is that he they couldn't get to the Super Bowl, and that's just the way it is. I mean, I brought up Andy Reid, and look at what happened to Andy Reid. He was with the Philadelphia Eagles for 13
Eagles,
seasons,
yeah.
I believe it was, and they were
And John
consistent.
Harbaugh was there with.
Right. They were consistently good. They were consistently good. They got to the playoffs multiple seasons, but they just couldn't get over that hump. And eventually, when it comes to ownership and stuff, you got to be frustrated with the overall result. And the end all be all for any team in the NFL is a championship, at least getting close to it and knocking on the door. And if you're not doing that consistently, you're going to get let go. That's just the way it is because that's the NFL. You have to
Mm,
find that coach that's going to get you there. I mean, look what happened to Andy Reid. He went on to go to the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's had tons of success there. I
yeah.
would argue the same thing is probably going to happen with John
Happen with
Harbaugh.
Harbaugh, I think so
Wherever
too.
the hell he goes, he's going to turn that team around. And now, like, you look at it, like, he has got his pick of the litter. He can go.
Oh
not
yeah, he's
not
number one.
only not only did all of those teams, I'm sure, call him, but you have those fringe teams like the Miami Dolphins. I had brought up in the little quick video that
Hmm.
I did. The Miami Dolphins were on the. There's what's going to go on with Mike McDaniel. There's no direct question answered right now. He's still the head coach, but the Dolphins already tried to go after one Harbaugh brother. They tried to go after Jim, and that didn't really work out. Stephen Ross loves John Harbaugh. I know that for a fact already. So you look at that team, and you look at right now they're on the fence with Mike McDaniel. If you call John Harbaugh and he
He's
even gives you,
interested.
yeah, you're dumping Mike McDaniel in a
You're like, bye,
hot
Mike,
second.
out the door.
The
Sorry.
100% any team. So Josina Anderson, who's an NFL insider, she did say already this morning that John Harbaugh is speaking with the Dolphins. Whether or not he's gonna want to come and interview for that job and take that
Yeah.
job is, time will tell. But you look at that situation too. They just got rid of their GM. They need a new GM. You give the keys of the kingdom to John Harbaugh. He picks the GM. He picks the coaching staff. He's 100% going to take that job because that's the next evolution of, I mean,
Yeah.
not saying that he wasn't doing that here with
Yeah.
Baltimore,
Yeah.
but wherever he can go to have that full control to create a team in the what he wants. He's not done that before. He was with the Ravens for 18 years, but he wasn't the end all be all guy. He wasn't like the Andy Reid. And I'm not saying that Andy Reid has all of the decisions in Kansas City, but he has a good amount. He has a good amount of power
Yeah.
to be like, this is what we're doing with the team. And look what happened. Multiple Super Bowl championship wins. Wherever John Harbaugh goes, I'm assuming that's what he's gonna want. He's gonna get like a ridiculous like contract, 15 million per year, 100, I don't know, 5 years, whatever,
Give him
whatever.
whatever they want
Yeah,
to give him. Yeah.
whatever the case may be, he's going to get so much money and he's going to get that power. And what better opportunity for a team like the Miami Dolphins, where everything is now going to be cut out and you're starting over from scratch. Now,
Yeah.
I did part of that report. I did say that the quarterback situation is going to be one of the things that he considers, which, as we know, the Dolphins quarterback situation is a giant mess. They have
Mm.
Tua Tagovailoa that was just benched. They got a rookie quarterback, Quinn Ewers, who had 3 games to start. Did okay, did decent. He going to be a viable starter? Probably not. Maybe more of a high end backup. But
Yeah.
regardless, if John Harbaugh goes in there and goes, okay, we're gonna go get this guy, and I'm gonna mold that guy in the draft, and you go, sure, yes, sir, whatever, you know.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I think the Giants have been another team that people kind of
hundred
throwing
percent,
around
yeah,
that seems likely to. But I'm the fact like the second I see that news, I'm on my phone immediately. Like,
yeah,
John,
yeah. They're
whatever you
again,
want, buddy, whatever you want,
yeah,
come on
yeah.
over and help us out.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Um,
mean, again, there was reports that 7 teams had contacted him within 45 minutes of being fired. Seven
that's
teams, which six of them were already six that needed a head coach. Who knows what the
mhm.
seventh is? Again, these are just reports. They haven't been
Yeah, no
corroborated, but these
confirmation.
are
Yeah,
coming from, obviously like the higher
insiders.
insiders in Ian Rappaport's, your Adam Schefter's and all that. But you have to believe that more than that called. And, they're saying that multiple teams who even have a head coach installed are going to be calling. And of course, why wouldn't
For
they?
sure, there's so many teams like you said, like the Dolphins and a few others that maybe even the Bengals. Joe Burrow's right there, Jamar
Can
Chase is
you
right there.
imagine? I mean, and look, Zach Taylor, Zach Taylor, not only is he staying, but he's keeping the defensive coordinator, which everybody is like, what are you doing? And that's a surefire way to be like John Harbaugh goes, you know what? I can fix that team and I can fix that defense. Bye. Get Zach
Yeah.
Taylor's out. Like,
Well, yeah, there's definitely a few people that like if he just gives over a phone call, I think, and I think that that's the heartbreaking thing for us really is that like it just didn't it's in the end this era of the Ravens, whatever it is, it's not working. He's hit the ceiling, whether it's just a locker room based thing, people not responding to him. I don't even know that I have any like coherent thought about it because I'm still like trying to piece the puzzle pieces together. I really think it must have been a conversation that's been going on all season long. There must have
mm,
been something that's leading up to it. We're a very measured organization. We don't make snap decisions. Bisciotti is level-headed, EDC is level-headed. So this
yeah.
is obviously something that's been brewing down the pipeline for a while. Maybe it was a no playoffs, no job conversation or like a conditional thing.
I mean,
Who knows?
you got to think about all the tangibles here too. Like Lamar Jackson, obviously there was reports that he was falling asleep in meetings and he just wasn't the same that he was. And regardless
Yeah, I'm
of
not
that,
sure I believe that
I don't believe that
stuff.
either. I don't believe that. But what I do believe is maybe that their relationship did get to a point where
Hmm.
they couldn't mesh well anymore. And you think about it, like who are the Ravens really going to choose? They're going to choose their generational franchise quarterback, Lamar Jackson, who, regardless of the fact that he's closing on 30 or he's 29, whatever,
29 today is his birthday.
29. Well, happy birthday,
Happy
Lamar
birthday,
Jackson.
Lamar.
Um, you think about it that way. This 100% is probably a situation where maybe they did sit down. Bisciotti sat down with Lamar and was like, "Okay, what do you want?" And he was like, "Get rid of Harbaugh." You know what I mean?
I
And
think
of
so
course, they're
too,
going to
yeah.
choose Lamar because Harbaugh has ran his course. Before Lamar even started, the Ravens hadn't been in the playoffs in like 3 seasons, I believe, 3, 4 seasons. And then Lamar Jackson started and bailed him out. And so, like, Harbaugh was already on thin ice before Lamar Jackson started. So you think about it, like, yeah, he was a long tenured coach, but he wasn't really doing that well. And then Lamar Jackson comes out of nowhere and saves him.
Transforms the.
Yeah, it transforms as much as Harbaugh transformed the Ravens, Lamar Jackson transformed them even more. And
Well, he's the
so,
new era in Baltimore. He is the new it was Harbaugh's legacy. I mean, it was Ray and Ed Reed first, and then, Harbaugh kind of had them for the beginning of his career, and then it kind of became John Harbaugh's Ravens. And
mhm,
now it's Lamar Jackson's Ravens. I think he's
100%.
been very vocal about talent that he wants, that EDC is very responsive to, always goes gets him the guy that he wants if he can. Um, he means a lot to the team. He means a lot to the city, let alone like the wider implications of like getting rid of him. And keeping Harbaugh as well. Like you upset a city, and a city doesn't want to come pay for tickets if you upset them. And I know that I've been to M&T Bank every season for the last 4 or 5 years now, and I've noticed, t seats are empty.
Yep.
It's not as sold out. It's still massive, like it's still
Yeah,
loads of
yeah,
people,
yeah.
like massive turnout, but like seats are emptying. It's that you wouldn't have happened in 2021 when we were the most exciting team in the NFL
Yeah.
or even a couple of years ago, really. So he's got to think of the wider social implications of keeping Harbaugh over Lamar.
No, yeah. Again, you hit the nail on the head there, and the additional reports were saying that yeah, it was an accumulation of things. It was Lamar Jackson potentially being upset with the direction the team was going, which of course he would be. It was the fact that without Lamar Jackson, you see how broken this team really is, and so okay,
Mm,
that should tell you need to go get those pieces, those second, third tier players that can complement the team while injuries happen, while a Lamar Jackson potentially goes down or not even a Lamar Jackson. You look at the offensive line where we were discussing, and it's not working, or you look at Todd Monken not running the ball with Derrick
yeah.
Henry every fucking chance he gets. Like, sorry for the language, but I mean, like, come on. And you just think about it as a whole with that, and then they're saying, seats are starting to empty. There's a fracture there with John Harbaugh and potential players or typical player or the bigger players in the locker room, whatever. But it was all of that, together, and especially because like you're not making the Super Bowl, and obviously, you can't say that Lamar Jackson isn't. There's no fault that can be placed at him because he's got 9 touchdowns and 9 interceptions in the playoffs. So it's like you're not really playing that well either. But at the same time, okay, where is that? Where are those backup players on the defense, especially on everywhere else, that are going to help you when you're struggling too? It's that supporting cast that matters a great deal in the NFL, not just the starters, not just your star players, not just your Zay Flowers and Lamar Jackson, like and Derrick Henry. Who else on the offense is there to help and to
Hmm.
really get the team going? Yeah, Mark Andrews, but Mark Andrews hasn't really been like that big of a passing or catching threat, in recent seasons. Like, yeah, he's still a stalwart, veteran that you rely on, a team captain, the whole
And
nine.
just got
But
paid, so he's going
right,
to be there and got to figure out a way to utilize him for that money.
exactly, but that's the thing too is with the Ravens is they rewarded their players that they draft and that they bring on, but where's those big hitters that you need to go for in free agency? You got Derrick
Yeah.
Henry, but Derrick Henry was brought on in 2021,
Yeah,
2019.
this is his second season with us.
So 2021 or 2022, whatever it was, or
Yeah.
2023, my bad. Anyway, I'm way
Hmm.
off on the years. But the point being, who are the people that you're going for in between that? Those, you know what I mean? Like at some point, you have to make a swing at a bigger free agent and hope that it works out because not every time it does. There's higher end free agents that go to teams that end up not playing well. But the point being is you have to take a swing on some of those players and you have to bolster that roster, not just on the main people that you know, but you got to give other people a chance too.
Yeah, and I think that that same goes coach-wise because
Yeah.
I remember when we won the Super Bowl last time, we fired our offensive coordinator mid-season, towards the end of the season, and that's crazy for a team that wasn't, we weren't doing amazingly because I think we'd lost 5 games in a row after Ray Lewis went down with an injury.
Mhm.
Um, but that's the same thing, and I think Harbaugh is a loyal guy. He wants to believe in people. He wants to trust that people can get their job done and trust that he's made the right decision. And I think with Zach Orr he's not shown us the last 2 years that he's really the guy for the job. I think we're going to get a complete wipe out of all coaching, and I think they're going to have a lot to prove, whoever comes in and readjust and see if they can, and it's going to backfire massively if they don't make those massive changes. Because there's no excuse piece-wise that we have a lot of, like we said, I think that I was wondering whether it is Zach Orr's coordination or the players that we have. And I think we're going to find out pretty soon what the real issue is. And it's
Yeah.
got to be a swing the EDC is willing to take because I think it looks really bad on both him and Bishotti if it doesn't pay out.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, and that, yeah, you're right. With the defense, especially with Zach Orr, it's like, okay, yeah, like you were playing with what you were given, but at the same time, there's still really good players on that team, really,
Hmm.
really, really good players. Cal Van Noy, you got Draymond Jones, but the pass rush just was non-existent. And I'm not saying
Yeah,
that those two guys are like premier, like TJ Watt level, of course not, but they're still schematically, you should still be able to get those guys involved in sacking quarterbacks regardless. But then you think about it, so the secondary has to do its job to set up the pass rush for the
yeah,
pass rush to get in there to have a little bit more time if they're struggling at the first instance of like getting off the line
sure,
and
yeah.
the offensive trying to get around offensive linemen. But that also works at the same time. You have to have that quick pass rush to not allow those big plays downfield. But like I said, like we talked about before, Marlon Humphrey's having a really down year. Kyle Hamilton goes down and everything just freaking blows up back there. Like
Mhm.
then you're screwed. But again, this is roster construction. This is Eric DeCosta's department. Like you got to really get in there and you got to really fill in those holes. But even more, like I said, the second and third tier players, not just a starting level caliber talent. You got to get those guys in there that will round out the roster when they come in relief or they're coming in a rotational aspect. They're still good.
Yeah.
But
I think we've been conservative the last few, like,
yeah,
I think we've been very conservative move. Like, we play smart. We don't, you know, we're not a team that really kind of signs on those big guys. It's not our identity. Like, we don't bring them in. And I think they've made the biggest swing of all. So maybe EDC's got some courage now. He's going to go after one of those guys just to see.
that's what I'm saying though. Like eventually, when you get complacent and not doing that, then that's the problem. Is you have to every now and again. I'm not saying every freaking free agency go after one or two players
Yeah.
where you're gonna have to pay them a ridiculous amount of money. But when you go into the season, usually they're like top 10 in cap space too. Usually, and it's like okay, use some of that money, take a swing on some of those they're kind of maybe the 1 to 2 year fringe guys that you're not sure. Maybe they had a down year, but they were good before. Maybe a scheme change. They come over, they do something good. You got to take a flyer on those kind of guys. But again, now, whoever the head coach is, maybe that's going to be the case. Whoever the head coach is needs to kind of do the tough love thing to uh, DaCosta and be like, hey, like we gotta. There's some serious issues here, and maybe that's the thing is John Harbaugh wasn't doing that or was doing
Mm,
that too much. I don't know. We don't know. We don't truly know what happened fully behind the scenes, and I don't think we ever will. But
yeah.
now you think about it in terms of like, okay, the Ravens have now become the top destination. Who,
Who?
who? Um, I
Who?
think, yeah, I think, you got to go with. Good, making sure I didn't freaking mute my mic. Okay, you got to go with. I think one of the hottest names right now, and I think I brought him up previous. If Harbaugh were to leave, you gotta look at Los Angeles Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter. Came out of Michigan, was really good there. Now he's really good with the Chargers. Turned that defense around. They're really really good, and he's been one of the hottest names in the current head coach landscape. I think defensively, if that's what you're going to go for, a defensive minded coach, he's definitely somebody you got to take a look at. Offensively, for some very weird ass reason, the Commanders got rid of Cliff Kingsbury. I think that's somebody you got to look at too. He's got experience. He's a really well respected coach. I think those are two of the names, at least in my opinion, that the Ravens should be looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends which way you're going because John came in, he was a special teams guy. It's completely different, mindset. I think we could do with becoming a defensive identity based team again. I think that's the thing that's lacking. I think Lamar is always steady. That offense always manages to get something done, even when it is like weak, or the weaker elements of it are kind of showing off in games more than often. But I would like. I mean, I'm swinging for the hills and I want Mike McDonald back. I want them to beg, please, at Seattle's door and say, steal him in the dead of the night. But obviously, for so many reasons, that's not happening.
Yeah.
Mike's going to have an amazing career over in Seattle, and we just have to accept that we made a really bad decision a couple of years ago. Um,
Well,
I
that's
don't know,
that's
Steve Spagnuolo,
that's what I was
I
thinking
like the
too.
idea
Yeah.
of. I think he's been spoken about a few times among Ravens fans. I'm feeling a defensive identity based
I mean,
coach.
there's a lot of really good defensive coordinators that are now up for head coaching positions again. Look at Vance Joseph with the Broncos; like he's going to be interviewing a lot as well. So Steve Spagnuolo, you got Vance Joseph, another dark horse candidate that I believe the Ravens because of who he is, but maybe because he's burned so many bridges and people are kind of scared and put off with how he operated the Dolphins. But Brian Flores is going to start
I've
interviewing.
seen a lot of that around,
Yeah, Brian
but yeah, I've
Flores.
seen
Brian
the
Flores was a great coordinator. He was a good coach in the beginning, but a lot of the power went to his head. But maybe that was a whole learning curve for him with how he treated the Dolphins, the roster, and everything. All of the things that happened negatively at the end. he went back to being a coordinator, and there was a lot of when he was talking about all that when Tua came out and said that he was just basically a piece of crap, and then he was like, "Look, man, I'm a coach," and da 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 da. Like he was his answers were very humble and showed humility when he was as a member of the Vikings. And maybe it's time for him to come back and be a head coach. And I think because of the way that he is and his no nonsense type of way of coaching, I think that could also do really well for the Ravens, especially defensively. Like he's one of the best defensive minds in the league currently, and I think that's somebody that the Ravens, if like you said, they were going to go a defensive route, Vance Joseph, Steve Spagnuolo, or Brian Flores, I think would be kind of the people that you would look at.
I was just having a little think about Browns, DC, Jim Schwartz, Baltimore native or Maryland native, was with us in the founding years of the
Hmm.
Ravens for, I think he was like linebackers coach or something.
Hmm.
I mean, I love watching the Browns defense play. I would like someone familiar with the AFC North, how it works. Um, I'm just kind of thinking around whose kind of defenses I like the look of. Seattle's defense, like the look of that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I know Todd Monken's probably gonna be gone by the end of the season. So I'm thinking all ends of the scale. I'm like, who do I want on defense? Who do I want on offense? Who do I need on head coach? Like I don't know how it's gonna pan out.
Yeah, I mean, there's also too another name that I didn't mention, but because he's the DC of the Miami Dolphins, but Anthony Weaver, he was up for some head coaching
Former
jobs.
Raven.
He was up for some head coaching jobs last season, and he's already getting interviewed this season. That's another name I think that the Ravens should explore as well. But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so many good like head coach candidates right now that it couldn't have come at a better time. Which maybe that's another reason why Steve Bisciotti was like, okay. You got all these DCs looking for a new job. You got these former head coaches that are coming back into the fold. Let's see what happens. We're going to move on and we're going to get one of these guys, you know?
I firmly imagine there's a plan there because I don't think that it would have come as quickly
Oh, yeah.
as it came around. I think that they've got an idea of how it's going to, or they have their ideal version of how this is going to pan out. I don't think we're going to be. I'm just curious about when that news is going to come. I was surprised by Harbaugh's coming as quickly as it did. So have we
Mhm.
got a head coach kind of lined up around the corner that's coming into the building? I don't know. Are they going to wait it out, see how things pan out in the
Oh,
playoffs?
no. Oh no, I think right now they're just kind of like dealing with all the press of what happened, but I think they're gonna start. I think interview requests are gonna come out today, probably tomorrow. Another name that obviously he's gonna be coming back to coaching is Mike McCarthy. You can think about that.
Mm,
Mike McCarthy, I think, would be a good name for the Ravens to check out. Like I said, there's so many. Like there's just so many. There's so
yeah.
many good coordinators that were previous head coaches that have kind of rebounded and got their name back up there after not doing well. Like I said, Vance Joseph, you got there's just a ton of opportunity, which again could be a really big reason why the Ravens were like, okay, we're gonna move on. Which we talked about it. I think it was time. I think it was a let's move on. This isn't working kind of a deal.
I'm not sure about the decision. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not sure about it. I'm really not. I don't know that it was the. I need to see who's coming in, and I need to see a season of their game before I make any decisions about whether this was the right decision or not. Because just because of what I was saying in the last pod about our identity and how it's driven, like how our organization is driven by that.
Mhm.
I know that we're like a younger, well, we're not really a young team anymore. I guess 30 in the NFL is kind of old, and I think that we're
Mhm.
averaging around 27 or whatever for the team. And I don't know. I think you need someone young to kind of clock in
Right.
with these guys and kind of meet them on
Mhm.
their level and kind of ex be exciting for them as someone who's going to be around for a while and someone who's not just chasing, one hit wonder in the Super Bowl. I think that Lamar is very unhappy with the way that his career has folded out so far, and I
Mhm.
think that he has obviously spotted the reason, or like he sees the reason as not him not getting the support that he needs coach wise.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that that's kind of what's going to drive the next few days.
No, I mean, again, it's hitting the nail on the head. I agree with that completely, and I think you're right. I mean, I think the way that the NFL has shaped over the last few seasons is a lot more of these young, dynamic head or coaches become head coaches. Like you look at Mike McDaniel, you look at Kellen Moore. There's these
McVay,
McVay, yeah, all these
kind of
guys
from the
that.
same school of
Right,
thought.
right. The I think they're all from the Shanahan tree or whatever. But I
Mm,
mean, yeah, I think because of the way that the league has changed and, it's more passing now than it is anything else. And like, I don't know, it's just schematically, like there's just been a lot more trickery and a lot of that going on. You have to find that outside the box thinker and not go with the older coaches who are kind of stuck in their ways. Like, well,
yeah.
this worked in the 90s and we're going to keep it going. It's like, no, like that's not going to work
It's a
anymore.
different league now.
Right, exactly. So I think you're
Just
right.
from defense alone, like you can't play like Ray and Ed Reed played. Like
No.
you can't, it's not safe anymore. They won't let you do it. And so like it's just a completely different league. And I don't know if Harbaugh was kind of adjusting, but just not adjusting enough for it to be the right like fit anymore. But
Mhm.
I think we need and would benefit from having someone who's new, young, and exciting.
I mean,
I don't think I want Mike McDaniel over here, but like I'm sure some people are thinking about that too. Um, but
maybe,
yeah, maybe. I
maybe,
mean, maybe the thing
maybe
is like, hey, the Dolphins were fine for the first few seasons he was
they
in.
were.
Maybe he's coming over and they're gonna do a little swapsy.
Well, I mean, like you think about it because he had Tua Tagovailoa, and I love Tua. Like, this is no disrespect to Tua, but obviously he already had limitations coming into the league, and those limitations were now put on full blast in this season, and everybody
Mm,
saw it. So now think about it that way. Okay, like what he was doing with Tua in that offense when he first started, Tua led the
working.
league in passer rating, he led the league in completion percentage, and in passing yards. You give him Lamar Jackson, phew, forget about it. Like, but I like that idea too. Like, say they're like, okay, well, John Harbaugh, we're going to hire him. We fire Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel comes over to the Ravens. Who knows?
Little swap.
I
It's
know.
easy, easy for everyone.
Well, I mean, we'll see. It's not a bad idea, but I mean, I think like if we're going, the younger, the dynamic, the exciting, you got to give Jesse Minter definitely a bigger look because he's one of the more dynamic and younger coaches coming up right
Yeah,
now.
we like to keep it in the family tree.
Yeah.
So, we exclusively trade with the Chargers.
Yeah.
So
Right. Right. Right.
the LA Ravens, as we like to call it.
Yeah. Right.
They probably call us the Baltimore Chargers.
Yeah, really though. I know because Alohi Gilman's over here and then Greg Roman's over there, and yeah, it's a whole
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, hey, look, Greg's doing fine over there. He was pissing a lot of people off. Just, I think it's about finding the right fit, isn't it, really, as opposed to like no one's questioning Harbaugh's like talent. It's just that must have not really been resonating for them anymore.
I mean, that's just the way it is. You know what I mean? You don't get to the Super Bowl, or rather, you're one and done, or you can't get past the hump of even, you can't even get out of the divisional round. Like it's eventually going to come for you, no matter what. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at Andy Reid right now. Like Andy Reid, they experienced their first really bad season in a long
Yeah.
while. If you have a second bad season, they're already going to start thinking, okay, now we need to make a change because
Yeah.
if you're not consistently getting up there and being close to a championship, or you're on the avenue there and like you can see the upward trajectory, like you just have to change it. And so, we'll see what happens. There's a lot that's going to happen these coming weeks, and to be honest, I was like, oh man, like we're going to switch over to the draft and it's going to be draft, draft, draft. I was like, it's not going to be, wholly exciting for a minute here, but now the Ravens have
Now it's
become,
wide open, the
yeah,
story of the season.
now the Ravens have become one of the most exciting teams in the NFL. They got rid of John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh, where is he going to go? And, who are the Ravens going to start interviewing first and foremost? And who are they
Todd
targeting?
Monken's probably going. Zach Law, is
Oh,
he going
yeah.
to stay? Like, it's going to be a complete, like, whole clear out, I think,
The
over there.
Yeah, the usual case when a new head coach comes in is they bring in their own staff. So
Yeah.
there's no chance that Zach or Todd Monken are going to be here come 2026, in my opinion.
I'd like to see Zach keep his position that he had before, though, but I don't know if that's going to resonate with him or if someone
Mm,
else is going to take him somewhere else. But I don't like the idea of someone coming in and trying to change everything. I don't think
mhm.
it's gonna make for a messy organization. And so I like the idea of someone coming in being a little bit humble, but fierce and wanting to make those bold swings and see how they pay off.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Well, this is it. This has been Emergency Roundtable Ravens episode 5. Thank you so much for my
Watch us
co-host.
back tomorrow
Yeah, no,
when we
really
get a new
though.
head coach.
I mean, honestly, it's not going to be that quick, but I mean, honestly, like we're going to keep coming back on and talking Ravens football as long as stuff is happening, which now again, it's going to be happening
Yeah.
because we have to go over coaching interviews and who's who and Todd Monken maybe getting a head coach job somewhere else. Maybe he takes Zach Orr with him. I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's going to happen. But thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for my co-host Billy Melissa. We'll be back next week with the normal episode. Maybe, maybe we'll come back for another emergency. But
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.